Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Studios and brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Moses Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. We're here with an amazing lady who is a Canadian South Asian author of suspenseful thriller fiction. She is a poetry and prose writer on Twitter and other social media. Also has her microfiction works appearing in small press publications worldwide. She has a debut novel, which is a suspense thriller that has gotten rave reviews. It's about two sisters separated at birth, reuniting in their 30s. One is successful, the other is a con artist. One wants freedom, and the other wants money. And who wants this and who wants that? We're going to find out in the book Next of Twin. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios in beautiful downtown Toronto, the amazing Canadian South Asian author of suspense thriller fiction and her book Next of Twin, her debut novel on Amazon and other publications. Ladies and gentlemen, the multi-talented Jass Aujla. Jass, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, it's great to have you on board, too. So you're a Canadian South Asian author of suspense thriller fiction. You're a poetry and prose writer on Twitter and other social media. You also have your microfiction appearing in small press publications worldwide. You have a debut novel, which is a suspense thriller, getting great reviews. It's about two sisters separated at birth, reuniting in their 30s. One is successful, the other is a con artist. One wants freedom, and the other wants money. It's all in the book Next of Twin, and who's got what, who has what, who's good, who's bad. We're going to find out in just 1 minute. And before getting all that jazz, tell us how you first got started.
Yeah, so I first got started, I guess, about 5 years ago on the novel itself. It actually, Next to Twin, began as a 10-page submission for a writing retreat that I attended in Italy in late 2018. And organically, those 10 pages grew into a full-fledged first draft about a year later.
Mm-hmm.
And,
okay.
Yeah, and so maybe just to back up a little bit, so I was born in India and I migrated to Canada with my parents in the early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And I was probably about 2 at that point. And just as a child, being a child of immigrant parents who worked very hard, I had a lot of time to myself. And I found that a lot of that time I spent reading and exploring other worlds. And in a way, reading helped me escape, the reality of a difficult childhood. But it also, sparked my creativity. And when I was 8, a short story that I had written for a class that one of my teachers had, or a project that one of my teachers had pulled together. That story sort of landed me a seat on a young writers conference in Winnipeg. And in essentially that project and that elementary school project really sort of, became my destiny. And, when I attended that conference, I kind of knew at a very young age that, this is what I was going to do this is what I wanted to do. And, from there, I studied creative writing throughout high school. And I was accepted to my dream university at Ryerson University. It's one of a renowned university in Toronto, Ontario. But I ended up not going there just because, my parents in a way didn't really support it. With them, it was a lot of, they came to this country and they struggled, and they really came to this country to, give their children a better life, a life that maybe they didn't necessarily think that they could have. And so when I floated the idea of, going to a school and studying journalism and studying writing, it was kind of a flat no for them. And, at the end of the day, I went to the University of Toronto. I still studied creative writing as an undergrad as much as I could. I earned a certificate in creative writing a little bit later on, and so that although I didn't go to university for for what I felt was my dream at that point, I still had that dream. And so about 5 years ago, when I was promoted in my day job, sorry, I'll just back up. So I ended up going to the
It's
University
okay.
of Toronto. Yeah, I'm like, I'll just back up a little bit, but I ended up going to the University of Toronto and studying business, economics and human resources, and industrial relations, and all those fun economical type things, and ended up working with one of the big five banks in Canada. And in a way, and I'm celebrating 25 years with that company this year.
Well,
But about 5
congratulations.
years ago, when I was oh well, thank you. Yeah, and so about 5 years ago, when I was promoted in my day job, instead of purchasing a congratulatory gift, like what I normally would do is buy myself a nice expensive purse. I kind of wanted to give myself something different this time, and what I gifted myself was an experience. And so that experience really was, for me, it was my ultimate dream experience, and it was a 1 week writing retreat in Tuscany, Italy. And
Nice.
as part of that, retreat, the organizer, Vanessa, she's a fantastic Australian author. So as part of that package, she said, whatever project you were working on, I'll provide you feedback on the first 10 pages. And interesting enough, I actually hadn't written like anything like 10 pages in a really, really long time. And and throughout the years, I had, I wrote, I probably started a few different stories, a few different drafts here and there, but kind of like just abandoned them at a certain point. And I guess this one was a little bit different. It was a little bit scary in terms of, just in terms of like writing those first 10 pages, even that first page, and being like, okay, I'm going to do it. And so when I got promoted, one of the things about getting promoted was I was now going to have to travel for work, and my commute was basically going to be about, close to an hour on the train.
Wow.
And I made a conscious decision to dedicate that time, at an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening to pursue my dream. And so those basically those 10 pages became that this book that's now being published.
Hmm. It's
I'll
inter-
pause there and see what kind of, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to ask you something. You're talking about 10 pages. What was that, like the 10 pages of your book, the next of twin, or was it like just 10 pages of simply poetry, prose, exercise, or something that came to mind? So that's really interesting. I think many people just do that instead of sitting on a train, like being on their phones or Twitter or anything like that, or looking out the window. I mean, I like the idea of devoting an hour to writing. Was that part of your book, Next to Twin, or was it just simply more of your work was just practice, just getting to whatever comes to your mind for an hour?
Yeah, it was Next to Twin, and at that
Okay.
point, funny enough, it wasn't called Next to Twin. It had a different title. But yeah, those first few words, those exact 10 pages are in a way the same 10 pages, or a few pages that are at the beginning of the novel. And I just kind of dedicated myself to being very consistent and writing every single day on the train, whether I felt like it or not. I, made that my focus, and, it was interesting because I, in a way, I know a lot of authors, they'll have an idea of, the story that they want to tell, and they'll basically plan it on paper and then, plot it out and then write it. For me, I knew pretty much that, my story was about two twin sisters, and they had their different personalities, and they each wanted something different. And I pretty much knew that was all I knew. And the story essentially came together organically as, every time I would sit down and write, it was almost like, between my brain and my fingers, the story came to life.
Hmm.
And in a way it was, I was just gonna say, in a way it was, in a way I was also learning what the twins were going to do, and in a way I didn't know what was going to happen next, and I was just, in a way I was in a way I was a reader of myself.
Mm-hmm. And certainly does too. And how did Next of Twin come about, and more on the story with Jass Aujla? We'll find out just 1 minute. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by SoundCloud Studios. Visit online at SoundCloudStudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget, Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. It's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give an official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those you love be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews, and Eve 11 enjoys by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassie, Forge Riley, and Menails. So grab your copy today for Goes Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, with over 40 podcast platforms, heard in 100 countries, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, Apple Music. Also, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook as well. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on YouTube, BitChute, and Rumble as well. Make sure you take us with you on any mobile device. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, phone cases, and more, and tote bags as well, too. Great gift ideas. Go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast along with throw pillows. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia for great books like Missing, Once, and Wrinkles. Also T-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, phone cases, and more. Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia. Check it out today and support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. We're here, Canadian and South Asian author of suspense, thriller fiction, and The Next of Twin, Jass Aujla, here on the Mike Wagner Show out of Toronto. And Jass, about the book Next of Twin, you devoted 10 pages each. You go to work for an hour, you come home for an hour on the train, you write 10 pages of the book. How did this idea of Next of Twin first came about, and where were you at that time?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I started when I was deciding, what I was going to write about for those first 10 pages that I was going to give to Vanessa for feedback for the writing retreat in Italy. I had a few ideas that I was bouncing around in my head, but I knew that I wanted to write a suspense thriller, a little bit of a mystery. I wanted to, keep my readers engaged until the very end. And I wanted, in a way to keep them guessing. And I had actually, I was fascinated by an article that I had read, and it was about twins. And it was about twins getting away with murder because of their shared identical DNA. And I kind of wanted to explore that concept a little bit more in my novel. And the article that I had read was specifically about, DNA testing, and in the 80s, 90s, when when DNA testing wasn't as accurate as it is in today's age. I kind of wanted to explore that idea. And so that essentially that was how, that was almost the crutch of the story. But again, I knew that I had two characters, and I didn't really know in a way what was going to happen, but conceptually I kind of knew what I wanted to write. And as I was on the train and the story came to me, I, in a way, was a vessel that was translating that into the written word.
That's really interesting as well, too. You talked about suspense thriller being one of your favorites. Who are some of your favorite authors and writers growing up?
Oh, well, growing up, Judy Blume, and I know she's not a suspense thriller, but I remember reading a lot of Judy Blume and Sidney Sheldon. Especially Sidney Sheldon. I feel like that was more, when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, and didn't realize how many books Sidney Sheldon had. And interesting enough, when I was reading those Sidney Sheldon books, it probably, like, I don't know how many he has, but I probably have read all of them. And back then, I was also, on the train traveling to work, and had back then I wasn't writing, but I did a lot of reading. And so that kind of, just that train ride really allowed me to to again pursue a passion. And that at that time it was a passion for reading. And yeah.
And how about some of your favorite books?
Well, today I love suspense thrillers. If I take a peek at, and so, I find sometimes, like in today's day and age, it is really hard to sit down and actually find time to read a book. And especially, since when COVID happened, I mean, I know we all had a lot more time to ourselves. But one of the things that I had actually discovered during the COVID times was the Audible app. And I won't say I've read, but I've listened to, I've listened,
I've got a
and
few times. I'll
appreciated.
get away with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've listened to and appreciated so many titles. I'm just taking a peek as I was telling you the story. I've got probably about 60 titles, and I will say a lot of them are suspense thrillers. One of my favorites is Sherry LaPena, who is another Canadian writer, first, New York Times bestseller. I also like reading, Lucy Foley. I think she's a UK author. Ruth Ware, also another UK author, and kind of like suspense thriller writers. I feel like that's sort of like my genre that I enjoy the most. I mean, I read the odd nonfiction book here and there, just, for self-improvement and whatnot, but I find I gravitate, I gravitate generally to the area that I write in.
And certainly do as well, too. And of course, about the book, Next is Winning with Jass Aujla here on the Mike Wagner Show. And of course, one sister wants the money, the other wants to be free. And one basically is a con and the other is successful. Which one's going to win? We'll find out with Jass in just 1 minute. Listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by SoundCloud Studios, and brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Moses Missing. Widener Show. And whoops, here we go. 3, 2, 1. We're back at Canadian South Asian author Jass Aujla of Next to Twin here on the Mike Widener Show. And of course, we talked a little bit about the background of Jass as well, too, leading up to this thriller. And of course, the question is, one wants the money, the other wants to be free, the other wants to be a lawyer or is a lawyer, and the other is simply a con. And which one is it? Who wants the money? Who wants to be free? Who is a lawyer? And who is a con? How's it all going to play out, Jass?
Well, maybe I'll just kind of give my own also summary. So again, like you mentioned, Mike, the twins are reunited 30 years later. Anjali is actually a successful business owner. She's married to Michael, who's a wealthy lawyer, and Riah is a skilled con artist and thief. And so when the twins, finally meet for the first time, it's quite evident that each twin, in a way, wants what the other has. And, in the first of many twists, a week after the twins have reunited, they have met, and they've kind of, in a way, cleared the air in terms of any animosity that they may have towards each other. They, in a way, hatch a plan to switch places. And a week later, after that decision is made, Riah wakes up in the hospital and she's mistaken for Anjali, and she has no memory of what's happened or what's transpired in the last year or so. And when she wakes up, she's informed by a homicide detective that Michael, her husband, is dead, and essentially she's the only suspect. And I will pause there and I will leave it there.
Okay. And of course, I guess the wonder is that, how they get separated. And of course, how do they get into their careers as well, too? Maybe just a little bit about that. It's like, how did Riah become a lawyer, and how did Anjali, or I was reverse, I should say, that no, what was it here? So I'm getting a little twisted this next win here. So Anjali is a successful business owner, and Riah is a con artist. So it's like, how do they get to that point of one being a lawyer and the other's a con artist?
Yeah, so Anjali is actually married to a lawyer, and you learn early in the story that she was in a professional setting and kind of gave that up to open an artist cafe. And Riah, on the other hand, the first few pages and the first chapter is Riah's chapter, and really you learn very early on in the story that Riah, is looking for her sister. Only learned recently, maybe a few months before that, that she had a twin sister, and you learn a little bit about the backstory and Riah's situation in terms of how and why she became a con artist, and really what her purpose is in terms of finding Anjali. And yeah, in the first few pages, you do learn, from Riah's backstory that her mother is ill, and she is looking for Anjali because she truly wants her mom to meet her other daughter that unfortunately was given up at birth. And and so that is Riah's sort of goal. And early on, I also share Anjali's backstory in terms of, she was given up for birth and really has only known her adopted parents, and really never actually, her adopted parents were told that that her birth mother was, passed away early on. So essentially, in a way, she never really thought that there was, that she did have blood or family out there. And her mother does, her adopted mother does confess that that she had learned otherwise. And yeah, and so that is sort of like, the setup. And when the twins do meet, and there's, a little bit of I'm going to say drawing out of the plot, and a little bit of drama and suspense, just even leading up to the twins meeting, and meeting for the first time.
Hmm. And what would you say they're meeting for the first time? Is it like your typical? It's like you try to feel it out. Was it like joy, or was it more like anger or resentment?
I would probably say the latter. Yeah, there's a little bit of on Ria's part. There's probably a little bit of joy, and yes, I've finally found that missing piece, and in a way, she's fulfilling Ria's sort of goal here is to fulfill her mother's wish. And and on Angela's part, there's probably a little bit more resentment, and why was I given up when when my sister wasn't, and a little bit of that. And then there's the other piece of what's happening in each of the I'm going to say in each of the twins, or each of the characters, like, stories. um yeah.
Okay. It made me think of, and maybe me in that movie Twins back in '88 with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. It's kind of similar. One successful, the other isn't. It's more of a comedy. It's kind of like Twins in a suspense. That's what I'm getting here. So
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you ever heard of, I think the show was called Ringer, and it was with Michelle. Uh, I'm
Michelle
drawing a
Pfeiffer.
blank. Not Michelle Pfeiffer, but Michelle, Sarah Michelle Gellar, I think.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Yes,
Ringer.
and it's
Okay.
called Ringer, and it was like it was an American, in a way, it was American thriller as well, and it was exactly that. Sarah Michelle Gellar, she was from the Buffy the Vampire
Yes, I
Slayer.
remember. Uh-huh.
And so I think after Buffy the Vampire Slayer, that is the show that she starred in, and she played both of the twins. And in a way, it was a play on sort of good versus evil. And there was a lot of drama and a lot of suspense within that. And so in a way, I do recall that show, and in a way that show kind of inspired the story as well. But only maybe if Priyanka Chopra had maybe played the twins. And so if I if you were to ask me, if this movie were, or if this book were to be turned into a movie, or a Netflix series, could definitely see Priyanka Chopra playing the part of both Anjali and Riah.
That's really interesting. I was just going to ask that question, and of course, I was going to ask as well, Jass, too, since we had a few minutes with Jass Aujla of Next of Twin on the Mike Wagner Show. What else can we expect in 2023 and beyond, Jass?
Wow. Well, I'm so right now, I'm very, very focused on releasing Next to Twin. My pub date is coming up, very, very shortly. Next month, May 16th is when the book officially releases, and I'm very much focused on giving it the most amp that I can. But I do write poetry every day on Twitter, and I'm yeah. And so I think later on this year, once the book once the book is released, and I'm able to maybe have a little bit of a breather, because it's quite hectic working the day job, and then being an author, and releasing your first debut novel. And so I'll probably take a little bit of a break, but I'm sure, later this year I will get cracking, get started on that second novel.
And I kind of had this thought too that if as soon as the book is released, you taking a break, you'd be like, okay, I'm on a train for an hour. What do I do?
Yeah, well, it was interesting because during the COVID, COVID happened in 2020, and so at that point, it in a way had a little bit of a negative effect because when you know with my company and probably many others, remote work and working from home became a thing, and my 55-minute commute basically turned into 5-second commute, and I in a way lost all that personal time.
Mhm.
And yeah, and so it's so I am looking forward to having more train rides and writing more.
And certainly looking forward as well too, Jass. And also a couple of things. Who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
In my career.
Yes.
Well, I would say perhaps like in terms of like, literary influences. I would say Michael Anjali. He's a, renowned literary writer, a Canadian literary writer. He wrote The English Patient, which, turned out to become a Oscar-winning movie and story, and won numerous awards for that and his other fictions. And so, when I was in university studying creative writing, I would definitely say that was a big influence in terms of just prose and poetic, and just appreciation for words themselves, and probably that in a way probably had started my appreciation and my love for poetry.
That's really interesting. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Uh, wow. I don't know if I'm one I'm one to dole out the advice freely, because definitely I would want to kind of know who I'm doling out the advice to. But if I'm sharing advice with new authors, or with authors who are potentially thinking about pursuing a career in writing, or putting pen to paper, I would just urge them, whether you're a new or seasoned writer, it's just important to write. And sometimes these days it's not enough just to have a dream. In a way, you have to act upon that, and you can't always wait for the perfect idea or the perfect moment. You just in a way have to put words on a paper, and in a way, you know I always treated anything that I put in my phone, or I type in my computer, or I write on a piece of paper. In a way, it's a lump of clay, and
Mhm.
eventually I'll take that and I'll mold it into a piece of art. And so I think if I could offer any advice to emerging artists, or emerging writers, is get those words on paper, and then you'll at least you have something to work from.
And that's very good advice indeed for the aspiring writers out there. We're here with Canadian South Asian author of Next to Twin, Jass Aujla, here on the Mike Wagner Show. Jass, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Learned a lot from you. Looking forward to having you again soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Glad to have you back. And once again, what's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your works?
Yeah, so my website is www.jazzaujla.com. And if you want to pick up a copy of Next of Twin, it's available on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Indigo. But if you check out my website, all of the pre-order purchasing links are available there on the landing page.
All right, we'll certainly check that out. Once again, Jass, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Looking forward to having you again soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you back. Wish you all the best. And Jass, you definitely have a great future ahead of you.
Thank you.